What African youth lacks that enable dysfunctional system of governance? The insights across many African nations, young people make up the majority of the population, yet despite their numbers, an energy system of governance often remain ineffective or dysfunctional. This is not simply due to leadership failure, you are alone, but also due to key gap within the youth population that unintentionally sustain this system. Lack of civil education. Many youths lack deep understanding of governance structure, their rights and responsibilities. Without this awareness, participation becomes passive rather than active. And inform. Weak collective organization, youth movements often lack unity and long-time structure. Fragment weakens their ability to influence policy and demands accountability. Mindset. A focus on immediate, on viral or quick gains often overshadow long-term strategic thinking required for systemic change. Political apathy, disillusionment with politics leads many youth to disengage entirely, leaving decision-making power in the hands of a few. Susceptibility to manipulation. Economic hardship makes some youths vulnerable to being used for political violence, misinformation campaigns, or vote buying. Limited leadership development. There is an often insufficient investment in grooming ethical visionary youth leaders prepared to take on governance role. Fear of consequences, fear of representation, arrest, or social backlash discourage active participation in advocacy or reform movements. Lack of economic empowerment, financial instability reduce independence and limit the ability to challenge authority or support reform initiatives such as Winners Elite Forum. Weak accountability culture, there is often a lack of sustained pressure on leadership through monitoring, questioning, and demanding transparency. Digital distraction versus digital power. When many youths are active online, this does not always translate into meaningful outline, civil engagement, or organized action. Path forward to transform governance system. African youth must invest in education, unity, discipline, and long-term vision. Building strong institutions begins with informed, organized, and courageous citizens. Conclusion. The future of governance in Africa depends heavily on the evolution of its youth by addressing these gaps. Young people should focus from being passive observers to active architects of functional, accountable systems. That's why Winners Elite Forum has been established to bridge that gap in order to create the basic foundation needed in order to sustain a survival strategy on a self-acclaimed leadership with its mandate that demand accountability within and outside the society. So therefore, I call on to the youths to look into the depth of their hearts and look at what they spend their daily day on should be monitored and should be controlled. We need to be structured, we need to be organized, we need to be principles. So may we live by the principles that governs the universe. That's the slogan of this movement. Winners Elite Forum. Welcome to Afri Flag Channel. Our next episode is on emotional roller coaster or the kind of darkness that we have within us. Like imagine someone that have lost his parts in a farm land in a very night hour without direction or a road that will lead him to a nearby town. The only option such an individual has that will lead is by sighting a light or a candle or lantern somewhere far distance. If you can be able to see that, he knows that there's a living being somewhere around there. So he will now track that light to find his way to connection with another individual in order to be guided. So this is the scenario and the dynamic of emotional and mental states of our very existence. Somehow you should question the entire mental state you embody as a person. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I thinking the way I'm thinking? Ask question, and in the answers lies your freedom, your liberation. So I want us to create a kind of mindset that will enable and encourage prosperity within our lands and the continent in general. I am your host, Nasidi Yusuf.